The Zarketh Empire had ruled the Andromeda sector for 3,000 years, and in all that time, no target had ever survived an encounter with Mia. She was a legend whispered in the darkest corners of 100 worlds, the shadow of Zarketh, the silent death, the one who moved like smoke and struck like lightning. Her latest contract was simple: eliminate the human named Enzo Reeves. Mia studied the holographic display floating above her wrist device as her stealth ship descended toward the mining colony of Epsilon 7. The human's file was surprisingly thin. Enzo Reeves, engineer, 32 standard years, assigned to the terraforming operations on this backwater rock. No military service, no combat training, no reason why the Empire's High Council would want him dead. She didn't question contracts. She fulfilled them. The colony's main settlement was a cluster of prefabricated domes connected by transparent tunnels. Mia's 4 eyes tracked the thermal signatures through her visor as she moved across the rooftops, her chitinous armor adapting to match each surface she touched. Her people, the Zarketh, were apex predators from a world of eternal twilight. Evolution had made them perfect killers. Humans were supposed to be weak, fragile, short-lived creatures who had stumbled into the galactic community only 50 years ago, barely worth noticing except as laborers and technicians. Enzo's quarters were in Dome 7. Mia dropped through a ventilation shaft, her movements silent despite her 2-meter frame. The blade on her right forearm extended with a soft click, monomolecular edge sharp enough to cut through starship hull plating. The human was sitting at a desk, his back to her, staring at some kind of display. This would be over in seconds. She struck. Enzo moved, not with the trained precision of a warrior, but with the raw, unpredictable reaction of someone who'd felt the air pressure change behind him. He threw himself sideways, and Mia's blade carved through the chair instead of his spine. Before she could adjust, he'd grabbed something from his desk, a plasma welding torch, and fired it directly at her face. The blast caught her off guard. Her armor's adaptive camouflage flickered and failed. She rolled backward, hissing in pain, her secondary eyelids protecting her vision. "What the hell?" Enzo shouted, scrambling behind his workbench. "Who sent you? Is this about the union thing? Because I told Martinson—" Mia lunged again, but the human had already moved, throwing a toolbox that exploded into a cloud of metal components. She batted them aside, but the distraction cost her a fraction of a second. Enzo had reached the door. The chase led through the colony's tunnels. Mia was faster, stronger, genetically superior in every measurable way. But Enzo knew the terrain. He ducked through maintenance hatches, climbed through spaces too small for her armored frame, and twice doubled back in ways that forced her to recalculate her approach. No prey had ever lasted this long. Finally, she cornered him in the colony's main water processing facility, a vast chamber of pipes and filtration tanks. Enzo stood on a catwalk, breathing hard, holding an industrial-grade spanner like a weapon. "Okay," he said, raising his free hand. "Let's talk about this." "Targets don't negotiate," Mia replied in perfectly synthesized standard. Her voice modulator gave her words a sibilant, dangerous quality. "Yeah, well, I've never been good at following rules." Enzo's eyes, those strange, expressive human eyes, studied her with an intensity that was almost unsettling. "You're Zarketh, right? From the Empire?" She said nothing, circling for a better angle. "So someone paid you to kill me. How much?" 50,000 Imperial credits. Enzo laughed. Actually laughed. 50,000! That's insulting. I designed the atmospheric processor that's going to make this whole planet breathable. I'm worth at least 100,000. Despite herself, Mia hesitated. Prey didn't joke. Prey ran or fought or begged. They didn't negotiate their own assassination fee. "Why does the Empire want you dead?" she asked. "No idea. Maybe because I testified against Vorketh Mining Corp? They were using illegal extraction methods, poisoning the water table on Kepler 186. Cost them millions when the courts shut them down. He lowered the spanner slightly. Let me guess. They hired you through a proxy. Mia's mandibles clicked in annoyance. That was exactly what had happened. You realize, Enzo continued, that they're probably going to kill you too, right? Loose ends and all that. I am the Empire's finest assassin. No one can... Yeah. And I'm a civvy engineer who's kept you busy for 20 minutes. How's that gonna look in your report? Mia's blades extended from both forearms now. She'd had enough of this human's impudence. But before she could strike, an explosion rocked the facility, then another, and another. Enzo's eyes widened. Oh no, the pressure regulators... He was moving before he finished speaking, running toward a control panel. Mia watched in confusion as he began manipulating the holographic controls with desperate speed. Help me or we both die, he shouted. If these tanks rupture, they'll take out half the colony. For 3.7 seconds, Mia considered letting him die, completing her mission and escaping before the explosion. Then she found herself beside him at the console, her superior processing speed identifying the cascade failure in the system. Bypass valve 7, she said. On it. You handle the pressure release on sectors 3 through 9. They worked in synchronized silence, and for those frantic minutes, Mia wasn't an assassin, and Enzo wasn't a target. They were simply two beings trying to prevent a catastrophe. When the last warning light finally went dark, they both slumped against the console, breathing hard. Someone sabotaged this, Mia said quietly. This was meant to look like an industrial accident. With me as the scapegoat. Enzo looked at her. We saved each other's lives just now. Doesn't that count for something in your culture? Among the Zarketh, a life debt was sacred. It superseded contracts, superseded even imperial law. Mia's training warred with instincts carved into her DNA over millions of years of evolution. The contract is based on a lie, Enzo interrupted, and you know it. She did know it. The realization settled over her like a weight. I cannot return without fulfilling my mission. The Empire will consider it a betrayal. Then don't return. Enzo pulled out a bottle from the emergency supply locker, something amber and human made. Stay here. Have a drink. Figure out your next move. You offer alcohol to someone who just tried to kill you? You just helped me save 3,000 people. Seems worth celebrating. He poured 2 cups and held one out. Mia stared at the offering. By all logic, she should complete her mission and leave this world, but something about this strange, resilient human intrigued her. He fought when fighting was hopeless. He laughed at death. He offered friendship to his would-be killer. Perhaps humans weren't as weak as the Empire believed. She took the cup. The liquid burned going down, but not unpleasantly. To new friends, Enzo offered. Mia clicked her mandibles in what might have been amusement. To survival. They drank together as alarms echoed through the facility, and security forces rushed toward the sabotage site. Somewhere in the Zarketh Empire, officials would be waiting for confirmation of Enzo's death. They would wait a long time. The Empire's deadliest assassin had found something more valuable than a contract. She'd found someone worth protecting,